G'day guys, my name is Wildkard, welcome back to my channel. Super Rugby, round 14. Highlanders versus the Waratahs, Dunedin, under the roof, beautiful green lawns, perfect conditions. The Waratahs desperately needed this win going into next week's big game against King Bowden and his friends. The Highlanders, now it's gonna be, I think they're gonna be on like 8th spot now after losing this game, so they're gonna be playing the Rebels. And whether they win that game against the Rebels will determine whether they're gonna make top 8 or not, I think. I have to double check the standings, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. We'll have to check exactly the difference in score between the Rebels and Highlanders. Last time I checked, I thought the Rebels couldn't make it anymore, but maybe there's a chance. We'll have to check the score. But anyway, I haven't looked at the standing yet. The game just finished. So before we talk about the game, first up, Mr. Nick Berry, Australian Referee of the Year, the best Lions Tour referee ever. Nick, there's a thing called common sense, mate. If you don't know what that is, try eBay. Maybe you can buy some. I'm not sure, but there's some. I mean, we've seen some bizarre decisions from Nick in the past, even as recent as like 2 weeks ago. Once again, the decision by Nick Berry this game was mind-boggling. Blew my mind. There was an incident where one of the Waratahs players got a yellow card. There was a ruck. He goes in for the clean out, and he's literally ducking as low as he possibly can go in the ruck. And he even tries to duck his head under the player that he was trying to clean out, right? And the player, as people's kind of like normal reaction, seeing someone running at you, is duck their head, right? So the player that was in the ruck ducks his head, and whilst the Waratah player also is ducking his head as low as he could possibly go. He could not go any lower. If he goes any lower, he would be like, his head will be hitting like the player on the ground, right? And as a result of both players ducking their heads, there was a head collision. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just completely accidental. Both players ducking their heads, and it's like physically impossible for the Waratahs player to go any lower, right? Nick Berry issues a yellow card against the Waratahs player. I honestly find really hard to make that conclusion, as that was a dangerous play, and I genuinely don't understand like how like you come to the conclusion, Nick. Like, honestly, I know that's the rule book. That's literal letter to the letter of the law, but you as the referee should mitigate that down to maybe not even, like, basically that shouldn't even be a penalty. That should just be play on. That's just general play. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, is there anything the players could have done to avoid that other than what you stated on the field? Don't go in to contest the ball. It's rugby. You literally, your reasoning that this was dangerous is that the player didn't have to go in to clean out, to do his job, to try to win the ball back for his team. Like, and somehow this player has to predict that the other player in the ruck will duck his head at the same time as he's ducking his head. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no logical common sense, Nick. Check eBay listings. I'm sure people will sell them to you. If you can't, like, somehow find them in your brain. Anyway, that's my little rant about Nick Berry, the greatest referee in Australian referees history of the world / Lions Tour legend, Nick Berry. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the game. I thought the game was really well controlled by the Waratahs overall. They had that forward dominance at the breakdown. They had the set piece dominance in the lineouts, a little bit in the lineouts, but mostly in the scrummaging. And with those dominance in the forward pack, the Waratahs really was able to control the rhythm of the game. They really allowed the game to be played at the pace that they wanted to play, whether it be slower in their own times or faster. Whether it be faster in their own times or slower, like in the second half when the Highlanders desperate trying to speed up the game. So I thought the Waratahs did really well to control the rhythm, and that's and that showed in the scoreboard. Eventually the Highlanders looked a bit frustrated by not able to play the game that they wanted to play, and was just giving away penalties, way too many penalties. And the Waratahs says, thanks for that. Happy to keep chip away your scoreboard every time you give it that opportunity. And yeah, really nice play from the Waratahs. Really showed like a lot of leadership by the Waratahs. And then the defense as well. The Waratahs defense is a little bit better, a little bit more polished than the Highlanders. Highlanders was just like not too bad in defense, but Highlanders was not fronting up, stopping the Waratahs in that advantage, getting over the advantage line. So the Waratahs were able to get a lot of momentum, getting over the advantage line again and again and again. And this was nothing like super fancy play either. It was just basic stuff. What's his name? Nawangani Tawase gets the ball. He just like, runs through like a defender, gets over the advantage line at ease almost. You look like he had a pretty good game this game, and also the kicking game for both teams I thought was a bit average, maybe like a B minus if I was to give him a score for both teams. But this is kind of like the game that Waratahs wanted, having like this average poor kicking going on, running the clock down, slowing the game down, controlling the rhythm, is kind of like the game that the Waratahs probably favored them in the circumstances that the game was played. And the Highlanders, was probably, again, they had, it seems like they had a game plan to bring on a lot of the big finishers like Makaeli Tu'u, what's his name, Fakatava, these big finishers coming off the bench. And when they did come off the bench, the Waratahs, even Tom Banks, he had to come on early, but not Tom Banks, what is his name? Marty Banks, even these players, these kind of big finishers that the Highlanders were looking to close out the game with, they were not able to find the rhythm that they wanted when they came onto the field. Again, the Waratahs were able to control the game really well and really neutralize that speed that came off the bench for the Highlanders. They're basically, the finishing plan was not able to be executed at all. And also, there was a red card against the Highlanders as well, made things a lot more difficult for Highlanders. This was Sam Gilbert, the number 10, really reckless. He went to clean out Hooper, lifts him vertically and drops him on the ground, and Hooper basically landed on his shoulder and slamming his head on the ground at the same time. And yeah, that was pretty stupid. That was just a brain fart. There was no need for him to clean him out at that point, and there's absolutely no reason for him to lift him up vertically in a clean out and then drop him on the ground. That was just absolutely unnecessary and bit of a brain fart going on there. And as a result, the Highlanders had to play 20 minutes with a red card. Waratahs able to score one try during the 20 minutes, which means that the Highlanders did pretty well in managing that 20 minutes with a player in the bin. But regardless, the Waratahs was able to grip in control, firmly keep control in the second half, and close out the game. The overall stats, let's have a quick summary. So again, this run meters, I'm pretty sure this is wrong. Like this run meters literally just before I started recording this video was Highlanders was like 700 and Waratahs was like 500, and suddenly both of them just went up to 800. I have no idea why. This is absolutely not 800 run meters. Is like All Blacks versus America. And then the All Blacks gets 800 run meters, right? That's the kind of, and America on like 300. That's the run meters from a game in a blowout. So getting 800 run meters for both teams doesn't even make any sense. It's like physically impossible for both teams to do 800 run meters when there isn't a blowout for one team, or when there isn't a blowout on the scoreboard. Like, doesn't even make sense. And then like, yeah, so, and this run meters has been wrong for a few videos now, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so probably the better indicator is the carry count. Waratahs has a bit more carries, 116 carries. So we're just going to talk about that instead of the run meters. That makes no sense. So 116 carries for the Waratahs, 88 carries for the Highlanders. At halftime, the Waratahs had 57 carries to the Highlanders 45. And this is the important part. At halftime, Waratahs had 16 defenders beaten to the Highlanders 8. And full time, as you can see, Waratahs beat another 16 players, and the Highlanders only beat 7 in the second half. So yeah, the defenders beaten by the Waratahs is consistently better than the Highlanders, which means the Highlanders are not fronting up in the defense, and Waratahs are able to get over the advantage line quite easily, at will almost. Turnovers conceded, 18 against the Highlanders, 15 against the Waratahs. This is pretty on the high end for both teams. But at halftime, turnovers conceded was 7-7 for both sides. So second half, Highlanders did a lot worse in their turnovers, especially at the breakdown. when Charlie Gamble came on, was able to basically turn over the ball at will at some point. It seemed like the tackles count so the Highlanders 163 tackles to the Waratahs 118. At halftime, Highlanders already missed 16 tackles. So another 16 tackles missed in the second half. Waratahs missed 8 in the first half, and then 7 in the second half. So much better managed, much better defense as well for the Waratahs. Kicks in play, 21-23. Like I said, both teams did a bit of kicking, but the Waratahs actually played the kicking to their advantage a little bit in the second half. I thought the kicking was like a B- for both teams, not anything spectacular. And the lineouts are a little bit struggling for Highlanders. 2 lineouts lost, 1 lineouts lost for the Waratahs. Not exactly clean for both teams in that sense. And finally, the penalties conceded. 11 penalties conceded for the Highlanders, 7 for the Waratahs. At halftime, the Highlanders conceded 5 penalties, 1 red card. And Waratahs only conceded 3 penalties at half time. So halftime score 7-19 in the favor of Waratahs, and full time 20-32 for the finish. So let's quickly go through the tries. So actually the Highlanders came out like firing, ready to go, like guns blazing. Less than a minute into the game, gets a try. So and also basically from the kickoff, Highlanders managed to turn the ball over at the breakdown. It was looking really, really good for the Highlanders. And just quick short balls from Aaron Smith, quick crash balls for the Highlanders. And then Dixon, just too close to the try line, budges himself over. First try on the ball already. Waratahs looking like they're not even fronting up the defense. It was looking concerning, really, really concerning for the Waratahs when this try was scored. Losing breakdowns and going backwards in their defense, not fronting up. And both things actually end up being the key reasons that the Highlanders lost. So despite dominating the 2 aspects of the game, getting over the advantage line and the breakdown, in the first 2 minutes, Highlanders seems lost that for the remainder of the game. Yeah. And then 10 minutes into the game, Waratahs gets their first try. I thought this was a penalty here, to be honest. So basically, Waratahs had like 2 pods set up. They had the ball went to the second pod further back, and then it was like a dummy more in the second pod. They passed the ball to the front pod, and they set up a more in the front pod. I thought this was a obstruction or shepherding or truck and trailer, whatever you want to call it, because it looked like to me there was already 2 more set up, and you can't pass the ball from one more to the other more, because that person who will receive the ball from the other more that's essentially truck and trailer. I thought that's the case, but they didn't show the replay. So maybe you can go back and watch the replay and let me know exactly what happened. But during the live broadcast, they didn't show the replays of the line out. So from the initial live feed, I thought it was immediately looked like to me it was obstruction, but they didn't review that, and they didn't even show that on any of the replays during the game. So we'll have to go back and watch that a bit later. But the referee says it was okay. In fact, the referee says the ball was illegally collapsed, so there was a full-on penalty advantage. But the Waratahs didn't need it. Spread the ball center field. Big Will Harris just charged in, planted the ball down under the post. 7 points apiece. 10 minutes into the game. 22 minutes in the game, the Highlanders had like a more. It looked like they went over the try line. The referee made a really quick decision on the field that this ball was held up. But it looked like to me, again, they didn't show replays. It looked like to me the Highlanders player was short, and then he crawled over the try line and then was held up. So that should have been a penalty instead of a goal line dropout. Should have been a penalty. But the referees made a really quick decision on the field, did not review it, said it was held up, goal line dropout. I thought it was really, really poor decision there. Looked like to me that was a penalty for crawling. It was pretty clear the Highlanders player, at least one player was on the ground crawling. Whether he had a ball or not, I don't know. I couldn't see. But it looked like someone was crawling on the ground. They should have a look at that. But anyways, goal line dropout there. On the 28th minute, Gilbert gets red carded for dumping Hooper on his head. On the 30th minute, Waratahs gets a 5-meter penalty. Following this penalty, kicks the penalty out for a line-out. Eventually, they get a 5-meter scrum for the Waratahs. They had a scrum dominance. The ball comes out. there was just a nice little play from the Waratahs set piece from the scrum. Didn't even have to do anything. Just one, like literally the scrum. The ball comes out of the scrums. Ball goes to the backs. Like it was like a, what do you call it? A skip pass to I think from Edmund to I think he might be, I can't remember who he was. From Edmund to the center. Center just like nice little long cardio pass to Nwangani to Wasi on the wing. Goes in for the second try for the Waratahs. 31 minutes in. And finally, just before halftime, the Waratahs was just like center field, a bit of a messy. There was a ruck at center field. It was still like, 40 meters out maybe. Hooper looks up, sees no one marking the pillar position by the ruck. Sorry, not the more, by the ruck. He pick and go, runs all the way 40 meters for a try. That was pretty awesome. Michael Hooper gets a deserved try just before halftime. So halftime score, the Waratahs already up. Like I mentioned, what is it? 19 points to 7 halftime score. So second half starts. The game kind of stalled a little bit. Landers gets their first opportunity to go for a 3-pointer early in the second half after about 10 minutes. I think it was, a 49th minute. After almost 10 minutes playing in the first half, nobody was able to crack the defense. Lioness has an opportunity to kick for 3. They had a bit of dominance, felt like they needed to take some points. Landers kicked for 3, 9 minutes into the second half. On the 50th minute, so 1 minute after, so basically this happened at the exact same time. So this happened from the yellow card. Like I said, the Waratahs player going for the clean out. Landers player duck his head. Waratahs player tries to duck his head even lower. Still head collision. Complete accidental. And referee says yellow card. Nick Berry. Check eBay listings, mate, for some common sense. Common sense, Nick. And then on the 55 minutes into the game, Landers looking like they have a bit of ascendancy. The Landers, Aaron Smith put a little chip kick behind into the Waratahs 22. Donaldson just came onto the field. It looked a little bit, maybe a bit like not warmed up properly. He like completely misjudged this kick and just like completely knocked the ball forward. And he looked completely lost. And then Landers recovers the ball. Quick ball from this. Just good hands all the way to the winger, to the left-hand side. Gregory gets the ball, slams the ball down into the corner. Landers, second try off the game. Suddenly the score is 15-19 with the Waratahs a yellow card in the bin. It's looking quite dangerous. It's looking like the Waratahs could lose this one. But Waratahs stepped up, and this is when the Waratahs really started controlling the rhythm, really started controlling the game, and Landers started bringing on their finishers. Makaele Tu'u and Fakitava both start coming on, but the Waratahs really neutralized their speed and power, just able to control the game. So 64 minutes in, Waratahs gets 3 points on the ball, kicks for 3. I think there was a penalty just before this one where Waratahs missed it, but still just really slowing the game down, taking their time with the penalties. Kicks for 3 at 64 minutes. On the 66th minute, the Waratah has another opportunity to attack inside the Highlanders 22. They basically get really close. One of the, I think who was it? I can't remember his name. I don't. But anyway, Waratahs looking like they scored. One of the players get tackled short. He tried to reach the ball over. Marty Banks looked like he kind of like didn't actually kick the ball. There was some argument that he kicked the ball out of the player's hand, which is illegal. He can't kick the ball out of the player's, like he kicked the player's arm. He didn't kick the ball. He kicked the arm. It was some argument that was illegal, but he didn't actually kick it. He kind of planted the foot where his arm would be, and his arm like knocked onto the shin, and he knocked on the ball. So he didn't actually technically kicked it. He just planted the foot where his arm was gonna go, and his arm like slammed into the shin. Kind of like how he got away with this. But so there was a no try, knock on instead of a penalty try. But that's okay. I'm happy with that. I thought that was like that's a fine interpretation of what happened there. On the 60th, so Waratahs didn't get this try. On the 68th minute, more penalties against the Landers at the breakdown. So yeah, Charlie Gamble coming on the field really started making a big difference. Waratahs happy to take another 3, 25 points, 15, 68 minutes. On the 72nd minute, the Waratahs really started to control the breakdowns. Gets another penalty with Charlie Gamble. They missed this one, so his game's not over. Highlanders still within 10 points reach with about 7 minutes left on the clock. But the ball security was really poor for Highlanders throughout the game. In fact, they got ripped quite a number of times. They get the ball ripped over again just after this penalty was kicked. On the 76th minute, the Tars start building faces again. And the Hannigan basically gets a short ball. Nick Hannigan, is it Nick? Yeah, Hannigan gets a short ball from his prop. I think Juan Smith? Anyway, he gets a short pass from his South African prop. He busts through, a defender goes through a little gap, and then he sees Edmund on his outside, offloads Edmund runs in for a beautiful try for the Waratahs on the 76th minute. And when this try was scored, this game was pretty much over, 32 points to 15. And in the last minute of the game, on the 81st minute, the Waratahs had a bit of a brain fart. I guess it's okay overall. So basically, the Waratahs was defending their own 22. They get a penalty on the 80th minute as the hooter goes off. So instead of finishing the game or if you do want to get a bonus point, which is what they were trying to do, you should have just kicked it out for a line out. You're still like 78 meters away from the try line. You should have just kicked it out instead of trying to run the whole length of the field. You should have kicked it out for a line out. No, one of the Waratahs player takes a quick tap, and then immediately, like a phase later, they loses the ball. Yeah, and then Highlanders gets the turnover, start building some faces. They utilize the field quite well. Highlanders went from you shift the ball all the way to the left-hand side of the field, used up every bit of space, and then shift the ball back to the right-hand side of the field. Goes in for a final try to finish it off, 20 points, 32. So a bit of brain fart there by the Waratahs, but I mean, they made the right decision to go for the bonus point, but I thought they should have kicked it out instead of taking a quick tap. Yeah, that was a bit of a poor decision there by the Waratahs. But overall, I thought this was a really well-managed game by the Waratahs. Let me know your thoughts. And Nick, check eBay listing, mate. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate you being here. I'll see you guys next week for the news, Tuesday. Cheers.